Nigeria, assuring citizens that his administration is firmly committed to protecting people of all faiths from violence and discrimination. He emphasized that maintaining national security, unity, and stability remains one of the government's firmest responsibilities. In his 2025 Christmas goodwill message delivered on Wednesday, the president stressed that his government will continue to uphold the constitutional rights of Nigerians to live peacefully, practice their faith freely, and pursue their goals without fear. He noted that every citizen, irrespective of religion or ethnic background, deserves safety, dignity, and equal protection under the law. The president noted that since taking office in 2023, his administration has continually assured Nigerians of its unwavering resolve to protect the country's security, cohesion, and stability. Tinubu cautioned that no citizen should face persecution or hardship for expressing or practicing their religious beliefs, stressing that devotion to God and compassion for humanity are common principles shared by all major faiths and should serve as a unifying force for the nation. The federal government has filed 16 alleged money laundering charges to the tune of 1.014 billion naira against the former Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, and his son, Abubakar Abdulaziz Malami, before the Federal High Court in Abuja. Also listed as a co-defendant in the case as Bashir Asabe. According to the charge, the government is accusing Malami, his son, and others of being involved in the laundering and concealment of 1.014 billion naira, allegedly traced to a commercial bank. In the 16 charges, the Nigerian government alleged that between July 2022 and June 2025, within Abuja and the jurisdiction of the court, the defendants procured Metropolitan Auto Tech Limited to conceal the unlawful origin of the money. The charge alleges in part that the defendants used the company as a front to conceal the origin and movement of the funds, an act the government says constitutes money laundering under Nigerian law. The 16 charges reveal how Malami allegedly engaged Metropolitan Auto Tech Limited to launder funds. Former House of Representatives Minority Leader Farouk Aliyu has advised the People's Democratic Party, PDP, to put its acts together or merge with the All Democratic Congress, ADC. Aliyu, a chieftain of the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, said this on Wednesday in an interview. According to him, that the PDP is dying. One way to revive it is for it to merge with the ADC. Aliyu emphasized that some of them need to concede certain things so the party can come back. Aliyu said it is not in the place of the APC to make the opposition parties come together. Despite his advice, he said the APC is not afraid of any opposition because the country belongs to everyone and to President and not to President Bola Tinubu. The main opposition party has been embroiled in a crisis with two groups laying claims to the leadership of the PDP, which ruled Nigeria from 1999 to 2015. The Osun State House of Assembly has passed a 2026 appropriation bill approving a total budget size of 723.4 billion naira after weeks of legislative scrutiny on Wednesday. According to a statement by the Chief Press Secretary to the Speaker, Olamide Tiamiyu, the passage followed extensive deliberations by lawmakers and a detailed review conducted by the House Committee of Finance and Appropriation with inputs from relevant ministries, departments, and agencies. The budget, titled Budget of Economic Transformation, was described by the Assembly as a major component of the state's fiscal framework for the 2026 financial year. It will be recalled that Governor Ademola Adeleke had presented a total of 705 billion naira 2026 proposed budget to the State House of Assembly on November 12, 2025. However, the budget size has been jacked up to 723.4 billion naira. According to the estimates, the budget is structured to support infrastructure development, social services, and key sectors, including education, healthcare, agriculture, and economic empowerment. Nurses at the Union Teaching Hospital, Osogbo, today protested against the management's handling of issues, with the most recent being the certificate saga, which they alleged the management instigated. Speaking on behalf of the nurses, Badegeshi Adejuwon, the Deputy Director Nursing Service, Union Teaching Hospital, disclosed that the certificates of many of the nurses the hospital management is trying to promote are either forged or were not accredited by the university. He added that the hospital's management is aware but kept mute. Adejuwon further disclosed that many of the certificates the nurses submitted were allegedly acquired from Togo, which the federal government is against. On her part, Michael Adenle, one of the deputy director of nursing services of the hospital, accused the management of Union Teaching Hospital of trying to force the said nurses on them by using high powers. Furthermore, Adenle stated that if the management fails to do the needful, they will down tools indefinitely, as they have been trying to speak to the management for more than a year, but that all their efforts fell on deaf ears. The nurses also disclosed that all efforts to get the Osun State government proved abortive.
I'm a Deputy Director of Nursing Services.
Okay, so why the protest?
It looked like a protest because there's an issue of certificate saga, whereby during promotion last year, there was some imbroglio that the certificate of some people are not, being the certificate that we degree certificate of some of our nurses, they didn't get to accredited school to get that certificate. So eventually, the union decided to let the management know, and the management now set up committee. And looking to that committee, they have to categorize the nurses certificate or issues into 7. And other 7s were addressed in the sense that some of the nurses were downgraded for years. Some, yes, because of that, that what you have at the time you enter does not make you to be this. So they now recalculated it. Some were 2 years, some were 1, some were 6 months in that category. Now, in the 7th category is the foreign certificate. And in this foreign certificate, I know some time ago in the federal ministry, whereby they said that there are some certificate of some foreign schools, and about 2,500 were asked to go home. The same thing happened to these ones. Now, their certificates were getting from a school in one of the foreign country, whereby it was not accredited. The nursing degree was not accredited. You understand? Was not accredited. That school was not accredited. That school was not accredited to train nurses in degree certificate.
What we want, it is norms in nursing career that if you reach the position of chief nursing officer, you must have your degree. This set of people, they don't have the authentic certificate to promote them. So they should stay in CNO. That is Chief Nursing Officer. After Chief Nursing Officer is ADNS. After ADNS is DDNS. After DDNS is DNS. If they have the authentic certificate, but they don't have that certificate to promote them to that level, now they should remain as CNO. Management is trying to force them on us, which will not be acceptable.
And now talking security, the Ojibara of Bayagan, Ile, and Ifalodun local government area of Kwara State, Kamilu Salami, who was abducted 25 days ago by bandits, has been released. According to reports, the monarch who was abducted on his farm was released on Tuesday night. Residents of the community have been thrown into a frenzy of joy and happiness following the arrival of the monarch. Spokesperson for the community, Ayinla Lawal, confirmed the development on Wednesday morning. Ayinla said in an interview that the monarch was released after a huge amount of money paid in 2 installments was paid to the bandits. He also told journalists that only the community contributed the amount demanded by the bandits before the release of the monarch. It told me records that Ayinla, in a statement released 2 weeks ago, said the bandits refused to release the monarch to the community after payment of 10 million naira earlier demanded by them. Zamfara State Governor Dauda Lawal has called for renewed commitment and stronger collaboration among federal security agencies operating in the state to effectively tackle insecurity. The governor gave the assurance on Wednesday, which is part of his 2-day end-of-year tour of security formations across the state. Governor Lawal, represented by the Secretary to the state government, Abubakar Nakwada, conveyed the appreciation of the government and people of Zamfara State to officers and men at the front lines of the security battle. He also extended condolences to families and colleagues of officers who paid the supreme price in the line of duty, offering prayers for the repose of their souls. The governor called for more concerted efforts by all security agencies to address the state's security challenges, reassuring them of the state government's continued support to enable them perform their duties effectively. From the first day of 2025, insecurity once again dominated Nigeria's national conversation, cutting across regions, communities, and social classes. What unfolded over the year was not a single crisis, but a layered security emergency: terrorism in the northeast, banditry in the northwest, communal violence in the middle belt, and mob killings and kidnappings spreading into previously calmer areas. Here is a recap of how Nigeria fared in the security sector. The year opened with renewed insurgent momentum in the northeast. In late January, suspected Islamic State West Africa province ISWAP fighters overran a military base in Marte local government area, Borno State, killing dozens of soldiers and exposing lingering gaps in frontline protection. Security analysts described the attack as a reminder that despite years of counterinsurgency operations, Boko Haram splinter factions remain operational and adaptive. Simultaneously, the Northwest recorded a surge in bandit attacks and mass kidnappings. Communities in Zamfara's Banin Magaji, Anka, and Kaura Namoda local government areas reported repeated raids, with entire villages emptied as gunmen abducted residents and imposed levies on rural populations. Bandits also struck Yankamaye village in Sanyawa local government area, Kano State, where an elderly woman was killed and 3 women abducted during a night raid, highlighting how the violence had spread beyond traditional bandit strongholds. Fazama and Chacho village, Warna local government area, Sokoto State. A wedding celebration turned into a nightmare when armed raiders seized the bride, her bridesmaids, and several guests. These attacks underscored the escalating reach of criminal networks across multiple states. Beyond insurgency and banditry, 2025 saw deadly mob violence on 28 March in Udone and Fandion, Uromi, Edo State. 16 mostly Hausa and Fulani men were lynched by a mob after being falsely accused of kidnapping. The gruesome incident triggered national outrage and reopened debates about vigilante justice, ethnic profiling, and the collapse of trust in law enforcement. In the Middle Belt, particularly in Makadi, Yelwata, and surrounding axes of Benue State, farmer herder clashes escalated with reprisal attacks, leaving scores dead and forcing thousands into temporary displacement camps. Local leaders warned that long-standing land disputes and the proliferation of small arms continue to fuel cycles of revenge. Kidnapping remained one of the most persistent threats throughout the year. The most dramatic incident of 2025 occurred on 21 November when gunmen abducted more than 300 students and teachers from St. Mary's Catholic School in Papiri, Niger State. The attack carried out in the early hours initially saw about 50 students escape on their own. Another 100 were released in early December. By 21 December, authorities announced that all remaining abductees had been freed, following a military and intelligence-driven operation, though details of the rescue were limited. The incident reverberated nationwide, reviving painful memories of earlier mass school kidnappings and raising questions about the effectiveness of existing protection measures for schools. Another mass abduction took place on 17 November in Maga Town, Wasagu, Danko local government area, Kebbi State, where bandits attacked a girls' secondary school, killed a vice principal, injured a teacher, and abducted 25 schoolgirls. Most were later released after negotiations and community pressure. Nigeria's security crisis drew international political attention when U.S. President Donald Trump publicly commented on the scale of violence, describing it as alarming and calling for stronger leadership and tougher security measures.
The Nigerian government continues to allow the killing of Christians. The USA will immediately stop all aid and assistance to Nigeria. We're going to do things to Nigeria that Nigeria is not going to be happy about and may very well go into that now disgraced country, guns a-blazing, to completely wipe out the Islamic terrorists who are committing these horrible, horrible atrocities.
His remarks circulated widely on social media, eliciting mixed reactions domestically. While some commentators welcomed the global spotlight, others criticized Trump for oversimplifying a complex crisis and using Nigeria's challenges for political messaging. The federal government dismissed suggestions of external interference, insisting Nigeria remains capable of addressing its internal security issues.
It's impossible for there to be a religious persecution that can be supported in any way, shape, or form by the government of Nigeria at any level.
The presidency condemned the array of attacks and reaffirmed its commitment to protecting lives and property. Military and security agencies announced intensified operations, including patrols, arrests of suspected collaborators, and targeted strikes against criminal hideouts in response to mounting public pressure and perceived lapses in the security architecture. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu implemented significant changes to the country's military leadership. In late October 2025, all service chiefs were replaced in a sweeping shake-up aimed at infusing new direction into the armed forces. Within days, the then Defense Minister Muhammad Badaru Abubakar resigned citing health reasons, and General Christopher Gwaben Musa, formerly Nigeria's Chief of Defense Staff, was nominated as the new Minister of Defense. This reappointment reflected an effort to leverage Musa's operational experience and strategic insights in confronting the multifaceted insecurity challenges. Nigeria's Musa's tenure as Chief of Defense Staff had been marked by public statements acknowledging deeper socioeconomic drivers of insecurity, including hunger and poverty, which he identified as strategic threats to stability. His leadership also confronted internal challenges within the military, including allegations of saboteurs involved in high-casualty incidents like the Yellowwater massacre in Benue State, where over 200 civilians died.
Given the complex and evolving security environment confronting our nation, Nigeria continues to face a combination of terrorism, banditry, criminality, and other asymmetric threats that require strategic focus, sustained focus, strategic clarity, and adaptive leadership. I'm confident that the deliberation at this conference will generate actionable recommendations and innovative approaches that will enhance operational effectiveness in the year 2026 and beyond, while reinforcing the Nigerian Army's role as a central pillar of national stability.
Human rights organizations and civil society leaders remained critical of the federal response, warning the casualty figures continue to rise despite official assurances. They urged a recalibration toward intelligence gathering, policing reforms, and community engagement, rather than an excessive reliance on military force alone.
Take care of our security and welfare, because it is stated in the bourgeois constitution of Nigeria that the welfare and security of the people shall be the primary purpose of government. Yeah. So this is not a matter that requires foreign invasion of our country. We kicked against in 1962 Nigerian youths fought against the Anglo-Nigerian Defense Pact. Since then, we have resisted any attempt by France and the United States of America to have military bases in Nigeria. This time around,
governors and traditional leaders amplified long-standing calls for the establishment of state policing structures. They argued that locally rooted security frameworks could respond more effectively and rapidly to threats, given their deeper understanding of community dynamics and terrains. Throughout 2025, government officials repeatedly promised reforms, deployment of new surveillance technology, recruitment of additional security personnel, and enhanced federal-state security coordination. Authorities also stated intentions to discourage ransom payments and expedite prosecution of arrested suspects. By year's end, some progress was apparent. Hostages were freed, pockets of calm returned to selected areas, and community protests were acknowledged by authorities. Nonetheless, many towns and rural communities reported that while attacks may have shifted locations, they had not ceased entirely. What 2025 ultimately revealed is that insecurity in Nigeria is no longer confined to a single region or actor. It is systemic, driven by poverty, weak justice systems, arms proliferation, and limited state presence in rural areas. While military pressure disrupted some criminal networks, the absence of durable political and economic solutions meant that violence remains cyclical. As Nigeria moves into a new year, the key question remains whether lessons from 2025 will translate into meaningful change. For millions who live through attacks, displacement, and fear, security is no longer an abstract policy issue. It is a daily measure of state legitimacy. Until protection becomes consistent and accountability real, insecurity is likely to remain a defining national challenge. Temi Tope Ajijola Oluwaola, Western Spring Television. Still to come, University of Nigeria Nsukka appoints globally renowned writer Chimamanda Adichie, Kevin Urama, and James Robinson of the University of Chicago as visiting professors in a move aimed at repositioning the institution on global academic stage.